Hello, everybody. My name is Charles Hallman. I'm the veteran sports columnist here at Minnesota Spokesman-Recorder, and this is Blacklight on Sports. Today, we're going to share my thoughts with you on the state of pro sports in the Twin Cities. Recently, we just saw the Timberwolves have a disappointing end to a fantastic run. And I know people has been down and out and thought they was gonna go further and everything like that. I didn't drink the Kool-Aid, so therefore, I thought they would go 6 games. I didn't know that they would punk out like they did and go out in 5. So I wanna talk about the Timberwolves a little bit. They swept a Phoenix team that wasn't well stocked roster-wise, and then they played a very good obviously, a very good Denver team, and they came back from behind on that and beat them in 7. I was talking with people, and people thought that maybe they never came down from that high. I mean, to beat the defending champions the way they did on the road in a 7th game, that was, impressive, but they didn't have enough time to regroup and they couldn't match up with Dallas. And I didn't think Dallas was going to beat them as badly as they did. But that's because the Timberwolves actually is a very young team. And when they're a very young team, you just don't you make mistakes, which they did in every game except the game they won in Dallas, where they had the lead. It came down the stretch, they made bad mistakes. So here's my take on the Timberwolves. First of all, they did very well this year. People are all upset and crying and all that other stuff. But hey, their chance of getting in the finals was there, but they didn't get there. And the reason why they didn't get there, they got to pay their dues. They're still young. You got a young man who's just turned 22 or just around 22, whatever, Anthony Edwards, who is a budding superstar, but again, he's 22 years old. You have a Gobert, who is a very good defensive player in the paint area. He can't guard outside the paint. And then you have Karl Anthony Towns, who gets on my nerves because he shoots too many doggone jump shots outside of 7 foot. He should be going inside the paint. You have Jalen McDaniels, who is good when he's there, but then he disappears too much. He plays like Casper at times. So you have Mike Conley, who is a shade under 40 years old, who is your best point guard, but when he can't play all these minutes. So therefore, what the Timberwolves need to do to get over this hump? Everybody has to go over a hump before they get to the championship round. Detroit Pistons did it. Chicago Bulls did it. Los Angeles Lakers did it. Boston Celtics did it. Everybody became a champion had to go through what they call a pecking order. They have to get baptized of fire before they can go through it. Love Naz Reid, and definitely he is a player for them. I like Jaden McDaniels, but he's going to have to use this offseason as a grooming period. He's going to have to get better. Just like Anthony Edwards did last offseason. He played with the USA team, and he learned that he had to work harder than he has worked before. Jaden McDaniels got to figure out how he's going to be more consistent and not fade out and not be one game he's great and one game you can't find him. This offseason got to be very important for him to do that because he is a very good player. Um, Rudy Gobert is going to be the Gobert. He's not an offensive player; he's a defensive player. So why are you trying to give him the ball? Okay, he's going to get the balls off offensive tips, things like that. But he's not your option. He's not your offensive option. Anthony Edwards, as much as he's a good player, he needs to learn how to stop being so spectacular. You don't need to have a highlight film every time you take a shot. So therefore, he's going to realize that he can go to the basket anytime he wants to and just go to the basket. And then Karl Anthony Towns, he's always bothered me because he shoots too much from outside. He should be going down. I'm sorry, a 7 footer should not be outside shooting threes like he's Steph Curry. People say they should trade him. His contract is way too big to trade. Now, there's only one team that he possibly can go to, and that would be the Knicks. But you're not going to get Jalen Brunson for him. So therefore, he's going to be stuck with him. So you're going to have those guys there. Mike Conley is Mike Conley, very good player. But you need a backup center, you need a backup point guard. I love Jordan McLaughlin, but Jordan McLaughlin, for one, is too small. Two, he gets injured too easily. And three, he's inconsistent in his shooting. Because of those three things, he doesn't play a lot. If he could he can't correct his height. If he could correct his shooting, he would be a very good backup. I love the guy. I love how he plays, but he's become more of a liability than an asset. So you need to find a young point guard that you can groom, because Conley may have a couple years left in him before he has to step down. And then Naz Reid is Naz Reid. I love him. I love how he plays. He plays with energy. He comes off the bench. He's better coming off the bench than probably a starter, but he's been a spot starter, and he fills in that role very well. But I think his best ability is coming off the bench, because he can play starter minutes coming off the bench. You definitely want to keep him. After that, you got to find a couple more players. You got to find a player. Oh, I forgot about Carl Anderson. Carl Anderson, I love him, but I don't think they're going to keep him. I think that he has not worn out his welcome, but he's just at a point where he only can play for you. He only can do certain things for you. Those certain things he does well. But, is he a player you can bank on every night? And that's a question mark. I love him. I hope they keep him, but somebody's not going to come back. Okay, that's given. The contract, their salary is too high. They already above the salary cap. They got to play the salary tax kind of stuff. But they have a team to work with. But people need to be patient. Stop trying to make this team into the Minneapolis Lakers of the 1950s, who won four NBA championships before they took themselves out to LA. This team is not that. But I'm hoping that it won't be another 20 years before they get to the conference finals again. By that time, my grandkids will be in college, and then I won't be dealing with this too much more. That's my take on the Timberwolves. I talked about who stays, who's going. I love Chris French. I think he has a good coaching staff. Was he outcoached by Jay Kidd at Dallas? I don't say that. I just think the matchup was bad. This team was put together to beat Denver. They were not put together to beat Dallas. Nobody thought that Dallas was going to play the way they played, and so therefore that's why Dallas is in the finals and not the Timberwolves. Timberwolves had a bad matchup issue. Rudy Gobert was in no man's land playing outside. When they did make the adjustment and move him off of the player on Luka, it looked better, but it was too late by then. I didn't think they'd get swept like they did, and that was disappointing. But that's the way life is, and hopefully fans will get over that. Let's move to point number 2. The Minnesota Twins are struggling early, and the reason why, because the Minnesota Twins do not do a very job in the free agent market. They bring in people that really are stopgap measures, and they don't work out, and then boom, they gone again. Carlos Correa was their last good free agent that they brought in. Now, baseball don't have a salary cap, but you have an owner cap. The Pohlads don't want to spend a lot of money, so they're not going to spend a lot of money on players. But they lost their two best pitchers last year, their two best starters. And you can't win in Major League Baseball without at least two starters. They lost those two stars, so now you're scrambling. And so therefore you're trying to get people to get to the 5th inning or the 6th inning, because pitchers today don't go any longer than that. And then you're hoping that your bullpen hold things together. That's not happening. And then you have the inconsistency in your batting. Similar to last year. If people recall, the Twins really started getting better in the summertime. Their young players really picking things up. Royce Lewis was and those players really came through. Speaking of Mr. Lewis, hopefully he'll be able to be back soon. He's becoming the Byron Buxton, getting injured too much and can't stay healthy. When he is healthy, they are a very good player. When Buxton is healthy, he's a very good player. And when they hit, they're a very good team. But when they can't hit and then they struggle on the pitching side, the Twins is gonna have a problem. Right now they're behind Cleveland, and Cleveland's out front. But in baseball, since it's such a long season, don't expect that Cleveland will be out front and can't go into a swoon. And that might be when the Twins will catch them. So Am I giving up on the Twins? No. But right now they're struggling. They took 2 out of 3 in Houston. Very good. But they're going to do that going down the stretch more and more, not just 1 out of 3 or maybe no out of 3. Because the league, their division, which is the weakest of the 3 divisions in the American League, they're still very good. They still got very good teams, and every team in the Central improved themselves except the Twins. Yes, face that fact. Detroit improved themselves. Kansas City improved themselves. Cleveland improved themselves. Only one that probably didn't do anything was the White Sox. But so the Twins was hoping that they was hoping they catch lightning on the bottle again, and that hasn't happened as yet. But they can. It's just June. Heck, it just started June, so it's a long season. The weather's gonna get hot. Kids out of school. I expect some good things out the Twins. Let's go to point 3. The Big Ten is finally expanding or officially expanding in a couple weeks to 18 schools. The Big Ten. It used to be 10 schools. Now it's 18. Okay. What that means for Minnesota? It means they're gonna struggle some more. Okay, you bringing in USC and UCLA, which are very good, can be very good football teams. That means Minnesota's gonna struggle. Okay, they got very good basketball teams. That means Minnesota's gonna struggle. They got very good volleyball teams. That means they're gonna struggle. Okay. Uh, Only place they won't struggle is in hockey because USC and UCLA don't have hockey teams, and neither does Washington and Oregon. Those are the 4 schools that's coming in to the Big Ten. So Minnesota in football had their chances 2 seasons ago to get to the championship round, and they messed up with the easiest schedule they could have had. Okay, and I'll still say this: you can't call yourself a contender if you don't beat the Michigans and Ohio States, and you can't beat Wisconsin with every other year. You don't beat Iowa. Those are the teams you got to beat. And if you don't beat them, you don't win. So, okay, so you're back to playing in one of those ESPN, made for ESPN bowls. They got 90 of them scheduled, and you're playing one of those bowls. Again, they haven't played the last time that Minnesota has played in the Rose Bowl, I was in kindergarten. And they had a black quarterback. Okay, the last black quarterback to win a Rose Bowl and a national championship was Sandy Stevens. Minnesota ain't been there since. Okay, beating these, playing these little gold bowls that played on, if you're not playing on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, to me, that's not a bowl game. That's just a game that ESPN came up with because they need to fill the schedule up because they can't play cornpole every night. So therefore, so Minnesota again going to struggle. So let's go to basketball. Ben Johnson has had to change his roster every year since he's been there because players decide after 1 year they got to go someplace else and get paid. So therefore, again, he's starting over again. He lost 4 players, including his best point guard, who came going to his 3rd school, to the transfer portal. So now Minnesota's struggling again in men's basketball. And you're bringing in USC, that's very good. You bring in UCLA, that's very good. Washington, Oregon is up and down, but USC and UCLA are very good basketball teams on an annual basis. So now Minnesota's going to struggle again. But people get blinded by the maroon and gold glasses, and they don't understand that Minnesota's never been a contending type of school. I always say that when your uniform is hanging in Foot Locker, you're a national power. And only time you find a Minnesota uniform in a Foot Locker is downtown Minneapolis. I'm sorry, that store is closed down. So where Foot Locker is at, that's where you'll find their jersey. You ain't going to find their jersey in Detroit, Chicago, elsewhere, like you find a Georgetown, or you'll find a Duke, or you'll find a North Carolina. So I'm sorry again, people. Minnesota still going to struggle there. So let's go to volleyball. Big Ten volleyball is probably the 2nd best conference in women's volleyball. And now you bring in 4 solid schools. Okay. Minnesota will still be good. They struggle a little bit because they changed coaches when Hugh McCaughlin retired. And the new guy is just, he's a different animal. Okay. Very good coach, but different animal. And players aren't all right, I'm warming up to him like they warmed to Hugh. So therefore, they're gonna run into a buzzsaw again, getting out of this. They can still finish in the first division, but it's volleyball has always been tough. Always been tough. So it's gonna get tougher when you gain 4 new schools in. Yeah, let's go to women's basketball. Yeah, okay. Do I have to? Because women's basketball has always been terrible, okay, except for when you had Lindsay Whalen, except for when you had Janelle Carnival. Again, when you only been to Final Four one time in your history, then that don't mean a lot. You went to WNIT finals this year, and you got blowed out in the finals. Okay. So we on year 2 of Coach Don P's tenure. Got a young squad, but they don't have that player that really can get you a bucket. Amara Battle can do that, but she's playing point guard right now. You need a point guard to move her to 2, and then you move her to 2, she can be a star. But she doesn't need to be thinking about an offense. You need to just think about her shot. And when that happens, she can play. Other than that, they're young. And they didn't get anybody. They picked up a couple players from the transfer portal, but not somebody that's going to make them better. So guess who's coming into the league? Juju Watkins. Oh, you don't know who she is because of Caitlin Clark, which we'll talk about a little bit later, overshadowed her. Judy Brockman is probably the best player in college basketball. And so therefore she's on USC's team, she's gonna be a star. Okay, she's already a star, just not being seen. Uh Juju reminds me a lot of Simone Augustus, the way she can make a shot. And again, ain't too many players make All-American in their freshman year. She did. Okay, so therefore she's coming in town. UCLA picked up another couple players, so they're going to be tough this year. Washington and Oregon is going to be tough. So guess where the women going to be at? They near the bottom again, unless things change. So that's that. Okay, the other sports, tennis going to be tough. Track and field always, it depends on how fast you got players, and Minnesota playing good. Only sport that Minnesota don't have to worry about the Big Ten expansion so much is hockey, especially women's hockey, which is one of the toughest sports and one of the most successful sports at the school. They not affected. The Big Ten, the 4 new Big Ten schools don't have women's hockey. So therefore, that's not affecting them. So Minnesota always been the top teams in Minnesota. Is always and the league is always Wisconsin and Ohio State and Minnesota. It depends on who you flip a coin, who's coming in first, who's coming in second, coming in third. Those are always going to be there every year. They used to nickname Minnesota New York Yankees of women's hockey. That's how good they are. Okay, so they'll always be good. So therefore, 18 teams in the Big Ten. I'm going to tell you, mark my words, it's going to be where it's going to be just one big college sport, and the conference will be divisions. It won't be any conferences because you got teams from coast to coast. The Big Ten is not from coast to coast. They're in California. They're in New England. There used to be just a Midwestern conference. So therefore, all these other conferences are fading away. The Pac-12, done. ACC used to be the ACC Southern. Now they all over the place. So therefore, it's going to be in about 5 years or so, you're going to see the college sport to be just one sport, and they have division: the Big Ten division, Big East division, ACC division, the SEC division. You'll see that. Maybe not, but my predictions are: if I was a very good predictor, I'd be playing the lottery and be rich. So that's about the Big Ten. Let's go to women's teams are doing it again. The PWHL Minnesota won the first ever championship this past week. Now let's put that in perspective. Okay. In this century, only 3 women pro teams has won a championship in this area. The Minnesota Whitecaps done it twice. Minnesota Lynx, Timberwolves, I'm sorry. Minnesota Lynx done it 4 times. And now you have PWHL Minnesota. They don't have nicknames yet. Okay? And isn't that telling you something about women's sports in this town versus men's sports in this town? the men's sports don't seem to do it well. And the women seem to do it well. Oh, we forgot about college. The Gopher women's hockey team has won 6 national championships. Uh, the Gopher women's volleyball team has been to 3 Final Fours. Uh, what about the men? Nothing. The men's hockey's done a couple of things. So I'm just saying the women are doing it again, and they don't get the limelight. They don't get the press that they are. I was shocked to see a front page picture, full page picture of the winning team when they won their 5-game series against Boston last week. I was shocked to see that because rarely they put the women's on the back page and it's always talking about the losing Twins or the losing Wolves or losing this or losing that. There's a men's team and the women's team gets short shifted. Even when the Lynx did their 4th championship, they didn't get the front page until they won. They showed the parade. But that's a issue for another day. That's gender inequity, those type of things. So women did it again, and congratulations to them. Oh, also, why are we talking about hockey? Because in the PWHL, there are only 4 black female players. 2 of them is on Minnesota. Sophie Jakes and Nikki Nightingale. Sophie Jakes last year became the first black female to win the Best Player in College Hockey Award. Never been done by a black woman before. The woman can play, okay? And she played for Ohio State. Now she played for a championship in her first year. Nikki Nightingale played for Augsburg, and she's on the team. So therefore, the other 2 black players are in Montreal and in Toronto, 4 total. I talked to Billie Jean King about that. I talked to Stan Caston about that. I talked to other coaches about it. I even talked to the players about that, and they all said the same thing. It's got to get better. It's got to get more black players, but that's only going to happen when you get players into the lower levels. Hockey is very expensive. You got to pay for ice tank. Got to pay for sticks, skates, those type of things. And so therefore, that's why the sport is majority white. Okay, it ain't about racism. That happens some places too. But it's all about the fact that you got to get affordable time for people of color and then be encouraged to play hockey. And there are clubs, the Black Girls Hockey Club, who is a national organization, is trying to get kids to play more. But it has to be a concerted effort, and hopefully that will happen so those numbers will improve. But right now they got 4 black players, and 2 of them is in Minnesota. So hats off again to PWHL Minnesota. I don't care if they don't have nicknames. I like it the way it is right now. But you know how people in sports says you can't just have a team without a nickname. Why not? But that's neither here nor there. Let's go to the Vikings. I don't know why. Uh, because I just don't like the Vikings. I just think that they haven't figured out what kind of team they want to be. Do they be a running team? Or they want to be a passing team? Okay, they just signed Justin Jefferson to a big time contract, will be historic in some respect. But okay, who's throwing to him? Okay, so again, you still have those same issues. This is year 2 or year 3 of their coach. Okay, and I don't know how good he is. We don't know that yet. They're still making changes. I think they still have problems on defense. They still can't seem to settle that down. And their offensive game was not good this year, too inconsistent. Uh, and Kirk Cousins is gone, so you can't whip on him anymore. But now you're down to another, trying to groom a new kind of quarterback. I don't know about the Vikings. Um, but everybody, it's a Vikings town, so everybody's gonna keep rooting for them, despite the fact they ain't won in years. They don't do anything when they do win. But who am I? I'm just a old reporter that that writes long. So that's my take on the Vikings. I don't like the Vikings. I don't think they're gonna be that good this year. I didn't follow the draft, so I can't give you any insights on that. Um, so perhaps they will do well. I hope they do well. I want them to do well because they got some players on there that's pretty good. But overall, I think they're going to fall a little bit in the Central Division. And that's the way life is when you talk about pro football. So let's go to our last topic. And please wait with me. Please sit down with me because it's going to be a long one. Caitlin Clark. Why is it that she gets all this notice? Why all this recognition? All this like the game just was invented when she played in Iowa. That the WNBA just started. Oh, it's been around 28 years, but it just started when she came in the league. Why is that the Indiana Fever, who was the worst team in the league last year, and that's why they got her as a top overall pick, only won 2 games so far with her on the team? But Caitlin Clark this, Caitlin Clark that. Oh, Caitlin Clark everywhere. Okay. And the reason why, and I've written about this, is that they had to have a great white hope. Yes, I said that they had to have a great white hope. Okay. And she fits that role. Now, did she put herself in that role? No. This is media. These are people who don't even follow the game. And all of a sudden, they became followers. All of a sudden, like they drank the Kool-Aid. Oh, gee, Caden Clark. And they want to make her into some angelic figure on the floor. And she's not. Now, what happened to her this past weekend when she got body slammed by a player was unfortunate. It was a dirty play. And the player got punished for that. She received a flagrant foul 1, and I think she paid a price. But yes, don't make this seem like this happens. This don't only happen to Caitlin Clark, because if you watch that game, Caitlin Clark did some things to her before she got body slammed to the to the bleachers. So I mean, so just don't make that into that she's such a sweet, lovable, just Annie. She just a sweet, loving, nice girl's night. I'm just tired of talking about Caitlin Clark, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to hear about anything about her. And then let's get this straight. This isn't about jealousy. There might be some in there. This isn't about racism. Oh, yes, it is. Because you got people who don't follow the league, don't recognize the league as a majority black. We want to talk about Caitlin Clark. Let's bring in some statistics. Caitlin Clark made the Rookie of the Month. Okay, just been named, but and Asia Wilson and made the Player of the Month for the Western Conference. But we don't talk about them. Okay, she only won the championship twice. We don't talk about that. You know why we don't talk about that? Because Asia Wilson's black. Okay, and we don't understand that. We don't understand how to promote. We still have that image that black women can't sell anything. Okay, they can't be promoted. So we rather promote and this. Caitlin Clark is just the latest in the line of promoting Great White Hope. Sabrina Blistu, when she came in the league, was promoted. Okay, Brianna Stewart was promoted. These are white women. Okay, good players. But then you don't talk about Asia Wilson. Let's see what she did. She won a national championship in college. She won 2 back-to-back NBA championships. She's looked like she might be on the verge of a third. MVP candidate every year. Oh, she came here and kicked the crap out of the Lynx when they played. But you talk about Caitlin Clark, okay, because she made a couple of jump shots. Rookies in the WNBA go through a testing period. Players is going to bump her because they're stronger. They're going to make her prove a point. Every rookie has gone through it. Myra Moore had to go through that when she was here, and she won 4 championships. Okay, because at first she didn't know how to guard anybody. Okay, so she got burnt many times. Now, granted, she learned and got better. She going in the Hall of Fame. Caitlin Clark will be adjusted. But what happened is you have people who just is following the league for the first time. And so therefore, I have a problem with these people because what if Caitlin Clark leaves tomorrow? Then they're gonna leave too? Because only why they came to the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark. I've been covering this league for 28 years. I remember when this league first started. I remember when the ABL started, that lasted for 2 years. Again, I remember when Don Staley, who's the coach at South Carolina, played in college. Okay, I'm not a fly-by-night kind of person. I've covered this league and I've covered women's basketball for so long. So therefore, I know the busters to the pros. Caden Clark is a very good player, not taking that away from him. But I think that when black women make criticism, now they're being called racist. Okay, when people make criticism about her game, she's leading right now. She's leading. She's got almost 100, not that many turnovers, but she had plenty of turnovers right now. Okay, but we're not going to recognize that. So when a player criticizes that constructively, then we're going to say, "Oh, you're just going out there because she's white." Yeah, we do. Also, let's look at the WNBA marketing people. Instead of them taking advantage of this phenomenon of people wanting to watch the fever, everybody wanting to see Caitlin Clark, why don't you talk about the other players in the league? Instead, we making it seem like it's Caitlin Clark this, Caitlin Clark that. I don't, you know what that reminds me of? I grew up in Detroit, and I remember when Barry Gordy changed the Supremes to Diana Ross and Supremes. Next thing you know, just Diana Ross. Okay. That's how I feel about this. It's Caden Clark in the Indiana Fever. Next thing you know, it'll just be Caden Clark. Okay. Instead of promoting the team, you got Aaliyah Boston, who was last year's Rookie of the Year. You don't talk about her. You got Kelsey Mitchell on the league who you don't talk about her. You got other players in the league. You don't talk about her. Okay. It's Caden Clark this. I don't want to know everything about her. Which brings me to what happened today on First Take. And I love Stephen A. Smith. Him and I know each other. But Stephen A. Smith got busted. Okay. Because he going to come out supporting Caitlin Clark like if she needed protection. And then he made this erroneous statement by saying he's been talking about WNBA more than anybody on First Take. That's a doggone lie, Stephen A. And Monica McNutt pointed out to him. He ain't talked about WNBA in 3 years. Okay? And then, so therefore, you had the opportunity to do that. You didn't do it. So now all of a sudden, a white girl comes in. Now you're going to stand up for her. And Stephen A., you got caught on this one, my brother, because talking about it, covering the league, is two different things. Okay. I cover the league. There's people that's talking about it, and they talking about it too much when they don't know what they're talking about. Okay. The numbers of WNBA have been going up for the last 5 years. Viewership has been going up. Okay. Caitlin Clark had part of that, but she only been in the league for how many games? She only played in 11 games so far. Okay, but you're televising all but one of her games, and then you have a roster of games, and you only talk about Caitlin Clark's score. You don't talk about any other games. Minnesota Lynx is off to one of their best starts since 2020. You don't talk about Keisha Clyler, who have an opportunity to be an MVP candidate because she's leading this team in almost every category. And no, we ain't talking about her. Okay, we ain't talking about the young lady in L.A. There's 2 rookies out there that's doing fantastic. Bothell. Okay, we ain't talking about them. Okay, that don't make no sense. So I just get impressed and I get really upset to hear people that these fly by nine people that comes out. I love the WNBA. How you gonna love WNBA? That's almost like eating chocolate cake for the first time and say you had it all your life. Okay. Uh, sample it. If you like it, you'll stick with it. But see, I'm afraid that when Caitlin Clark is not around, these people are not around. That's including Stephen A. Okay, because he told me, paraphrase it, hey, why would I come to WNBA? They don't dunk. He told me that many years ago. I laughed when he said that, but I laughed in such a pissed off way because I don't cover the WNBA because they don't dunk. I cover the WNBA because they probably play the best, purest close to pure basketball you're gonna see. Yeah, and they'll be, NBA, all you see is either trying to dunk the ball and break the basketball backboard, or they trying to shoot from out at the IDS tower. Okay. And that's not good basketball for me. Good basketball is a good screen, good give and go, good stop and pop, a good mid-range jumper, occasional three-pointer is good. Yeah, I don't have to see no dunk. Dunks is only worth 2 points. So give me a simple layup. That'll be fine. So therefore, the WNBA is really missing the boat on this. And if they don't say something about this, and I'm saying not talking about these rumors that, okay, Caitlin Clark's being targeted. So the black women going after. Nah, they ain't doing all that, okay? That's not it. What you need to do is say, you know what? We got so many great players in the WNBA, and we're going to focus on them as well. Not just Caitlin Clark. Oh, she's good. Rakila Johnson, very good. Cameron Brink, very good. Aaliyah Boston, very good. Napisha Collett, very good. Those are players you watch as well. If they don't do that, then it's going to continue to have this problem, this misguidance in coverage, this, oversaturated, you know, we hear about Caitlin Clark every day. We hear about whether she's going to the bathroom or not. We hear about, all this other stuff we hear about, and we don't hear about other players. And that's locally too. We got swept into that. Well, I didn't swept up. The local press got swept in that when Caitlin Clark came in town to play the Gophers. The Gophers only had 2 sellouts in the last 5 years. One was when Lindsey Whalen's first game as a head coach, and then Caitlin Clark when the Iowa came in town this winter. I want you to guess where I was that night. I wasn't in Williams Arena because I didn't want to be a part of that zoo, that circus, okay? And I'll give you another prediction. When she comes into Minnesota later on this year, I probably won't be at that game neither, okay? Because sometimes I protest silently, okay? Why would you pick the same night that you retire Myra Moore's jersey, same night you play in Indiana? So you can guarantee a sellout. Should have a sellout because of Myron Moore, who won 4 championships for you, not because of a rookie that comes in town. Indiana, we don't know how Indiana's going to be good at that time. They're struggling now. They're probably going to continue to struggle. But again, you're trying to do something that's not necessary. Yes, have Caitlin Clark be a rookie. Okay, let's have her have a rookie year. If Indiana gets better, that'd be good. Okay, and they don't, they put themselves in the lottery again. They try to get another piece. Yes, just try to do that. Just try to make her into something that she's not. She's not the savior of the league. The league won't fold if she leaves. I was upset when Ice Cube did that phony offer of giving her money to play in the Big Three. That was just a publicity stunt. He wasn't gonna give her no money. Shoot. So stop playing these games, people, and start being for real. That's ridiculous. But I didn't want to talk about Caitlin Clark, but I thought what Stephen A. Smith did today, I thought was crazy. I thought was stupid. He's trying to get clicks and everything like that. He got roasted by a sister. Mark McKnight just tore him up, and he had to sit there and swallow it. Okay, and that's where you got to go sometime. When you say stupid stuff, you got to pay the price. Stephen A. Smith, my man, he had worked his way into being a top star at ESPN, but sometimes you get burnt. Okay, let's see if Pat McAfee gets burnt for what he called Caitlin Clark today. Now, I'm not going to mention the words, but yes, that's going over the internet as well, what he called her today. Let's see what's going to happen to him. Okay, white man saying something about a white player. That's ridiculous. And I won't use the words that he used, but it was derogatory. And he said it over the air. So at least Stephen A. was clean with his remarks. He just was stupid in his remarks. That's the way it is. I think I got all my stuff out of me. I could talk forever. I think I got everything out of me today. I really appreciate you listening to me. I'm in the paper every week. On the back pages of the Minnesota Spokesman-Recorder, my partner and colleague, Dr. Mitchell McDonald, on that page as well. We try to cover the Twin Cities sports scene in the best possible way possible, giving it a black perspective that no other paper gives it. And so therefore, that's why we call this show Blacklight on Sports, because if we don't highlight our people and our accomplishments, who will? And that's why this paper was founded 90 years ago, because Cecil Newman felt that black people does things good too. Sometimes we do some bad things, but most of the time we do some good things, and that should be highlighted as well. And I think that's it for me. I really appreciate your time listening to me. Please watch us. We're on YouTube, I think. We're on our website. I don't know where we're on. Well, you will find us somewhere. Hope you'll enjoy it. Next time will be my co-host, Mr. Dr. McDonald will be back, and then we'll have a guest because I don't like doing this talking. That's a lot to me, but I enjoyed myself, and I hope you did as well. This is Blacklight on Sports. My name is Charles Hallman. Take it easy.